that, of course, is a story for another day, and I'll see you, and we'll talk about that down the road. Welcome, wrestling fans. You got Bill Schuyler here at One Wrestling's NXT review. You know it, WWE's NXT down at Full Sail University. Been out for the last couple weeks, unable to broadcast to you due to some serious health situations I had going on, but I'm feeling a little better, and I'm ready to rock and roll, and I'm hoping you are as well. This first show we're going to get into here is from April 16th, 2015. As always, I said, let's get it ready. We're going to take a ride on that magic carpet ride. Kick off your shoes, pour your favorite tasty beverage, and let's get down to business. First, I'm going to say from Jump Street that this was far from the worst NXT card I've seen. But it was far enough away from the normal knockdown, kick it out of the park shows that I felt a bit disappointed. Reason number one, possibly just may be the curse of the pre-tape blahs. Show runs, as they continue to run in a particular area for too long. This last one running almost 5 episodes of recordings. They tend to be more or less a little lacking in that fire and testicular fortitude. Fortunately, we're getting ready for a new run coming up in a few weeks, and I think a nice live special on the network would really pay big dividends in getting the guys and gals down there on NXT back up there in that prime killing zone for just blowing everybody's socks off in and outside of the ring. Our first match up we had, which to me is one of the best news in ages to strike for NXT, because it's a wrestler who I have had absolutely zero allegiance to since he's been there. You know who he is. I lovingly, and I say that sarcastically, refer to him as Captain Planet, CJ Parker. This is going to be his next to last appearance on NXT. Feel free to clap, jump up and down, yell, do the FLAIR strut, whatever makes you happy. It actually was one of his better showings, but I gotta give that up due more to Dragon Gate USA, CZW, and Evolve's former indie superstar Sami Callihan, now known as the hacker brainchild Solomon CROWE. It was a quick but not a too turbocharged match with CROWE just taking pretty much complete dominance over CJ. It was quick. CROWE hit with a new submission hold, the muffler bender, which got him a submission win over Captain Planet. And it does leave NXT in a quandary of too much talent and only one belt to strive for on this show for the guys. I think Triple H, it might be a good idea, and I'm sure Dusty Rhodes has brought it up, and Lord Regal himself, that maybe it's time for NXT to come out with a television title. That way, that's a belt that's represented each and every week, and actually becomes more important in many ways than the actual world title for a promotion like that on TV, because it's defended every week, and it's a match that's usually a 15-minute time limit, and that superstar's on there every week going up against real opponents, not jobbers, and it's always worked well in the past, and I think that with the even though this is new and exciting with a new look and a vibe and a whole feeling, NXT is all about that kind of old school feel. And a TV title, I think, is something that would pay off in dividends. You got to look no further, and you guys do on a regular basis there in NXT, is look at one Jay Lethal down there in Ring of Honor and see how well he is developed with that TV title. But I digress. Next, we have Baron Corbin going up against one Steve Cutler. And 30 seconds and another ho-hum squash match later via the fall of man for the pinfall. Corbin, you got two choices right here. You either got to give him another monster to test his mettle with, or tag him with another either large man himself or a skilled smaller wrestler. Otherwise, this guy's just going to go on and begin to pee off the fans just out of sheer boredom. I mean, you just can't have this constant in and out, not test himself against a quality opponent every time he gets in the ring. HIDEO ITAMI had won the WrestleMania chance to be in that Andre the Giant Battle Royal, and I think it would have done better for a guy like Baron Corbin to have been there, who could have been tossing 2, 3, even 4 guys out of the ring, and it would have paid off in spades, as opposed to Hitami's role in that match, in my personal opinion. Hitami has been where I thought he would be due to the history of how Japanese wrestlers have been treated here in the WWE universe for many years, and that is they just don't seem to get how to properly use them, and we'll get into that later as we get into Hitami's own matches down the line. Finally, though, we did get a little fun as bada bing, bada boom, realest guys in the room made it out. ENZO, AMORE, and Big Cass along with Carmella. Their in-ring skills are improving week by week, and their stick work is just out of this world, and they're over massive with the fans. I definitely see NXT Gold Tag belts going around their waist, hopefully sometime by the end of this summer. They faced off against SAWYER and FULTON, and Angelo. I'm sorry, disregard that. SAWYER Fulton is his whole name, and Angelo Dawkins. And for those two guys, basically it's one word, and that's soft. Blake and Murphy came out and each gave Carmella a nice bouquet of flowers, which she was pleased with. This is kind of like a little old-fashioned, weak way, if you will, for a feud continuing to grow, as Carmella seems to be taking more siding towards the champions than her benefactors here at NXT with Big Cass and ENZO AMORE. Hey, but anything to get that title shot would make it worth it for me. We then had our women's match featuring the debut of Dana Brooke. Great body, muscles, blonde, easy on the eyes. She is coming off as a great heel, a real bitch, to put it to exactly what it is. I'm going to spell it out and not be shy. And she's playing that kind of diva, and they haven't had one like her. She's a bit different than, say, Sasha Banks. I'm hoping that she works out, just because she's got a different look to her, having the muscle mass. She was going up against the fan favorite, Leva Bates, which, I'm not a fan of the old blue pants gimmick. I hate it. She's a tremendous talent in the ring and deserves a lot more respect than that. But either way, she's over massively with the crowd. They were not happy on her losing the match. It was a quick one. No muss, no fuss. And Dana scored her first victory in NXT. We then received the vignette with Sami Zayn talking about being ready to beat RHYNO despite already having his rematch clause, and one Alex Riley challenging Kevin Owens next week for the main event. Not really excited about A-Rye and Kevin Owens. There's no way on God's green earth that A-Rye's winning the NXT title, but the match hopefully should be hard-hitting to say the least. And then we had our main event for tonight. That's right, the former NXT champion going up against the man-beast RHYNO, former ECW champion, hardcore champion all across the world in every promotion he's been in. It was a great return match for Zayn here in the States, as he and RHYNO showed why the man-beast is here in NXT. A seasoned vet that can hang with anybody in NXT and literally could be on the main roster tomorrow and would fit in perfectly in any storyline they wanted to put him in. RHYNO did a great job of putting Sami over without looking weak, and Zayn played the underdog with a drive and just that ability that he has to allow him to, again, be that underdog that could just get in there and win the big one. And I'm looking at RHYNO as how ECW used Terry Funk perhaps back in the day, and he can be that elder statesman for NXT. I think it would be a smart move to use Paul Heyman to assist in creating this feud, to give it that oh my god moments here and there. Sami's looking great. I'm talking El Generico great, and his victory was well deserved and definitely was the match of the night. We then jump forward to this week's NXT match. The card was April 22nd, 2015, as it is every week Wednesday nights, 8 o'clock, Full Sail University once again. We have an opener which kind of harkened back to the days of my youth, with superstars of wrestling going up against the jobbers of the week. And we kind of had that feeling throughout this card tonight. We opened up with Finn Balor going up against Ty Dillinger, fresh off his breakup with Jordan. And, on paper, you just knew that this was not going to go too far, and that definitely was the case. Finn Balor dominated from the opening with this, hitting with every move in his repertoire that he could get off in such a quick amount of time. Basically, it was a Pele kick, a sling blade, and the coup de grace for the 1, 2, 3, and Ty Dillinger was out. Finn Balor was in. We had Prince Pretty, Tyler Breeze, come up on the Titantron talking about how he is the man in NXT, that Finn Balor is just a flavor of the month. And we'll see how this turns out. I myself don't see anybody right now stopping Finn Balor. He is on the bullet train to superstardom on the main roster in a short amount of time. I'm expecting by sometime after SummerSlam in the fall, perhaps, that he will be full-time on that main roster and making quite the name for himself. We then had, which as always has the opportunity, as these girls do it every week to have the match of the night. And this was a three-way dance for the number one contenders for the NXT Women's Champion, Sasha Banks. It was Bayley going up against Charlotte Flair, going up against Becky Lynch. The match started out a bit awkwardly, but our competitors quickly began firing up on all cylinders. I'll bet it remained slightly off kilter for a lot of the match. But they had control throughout, and it was entertaining, and it was fast-paced, yet the ring psychology was done very well. The girls not just getting through, and they just really showed off the damage that was being done in the ring, and it's refreshing to see this type of thing where they're not just taking finisher moves and running off like nothing happened. You had Charlotte and Bayley take it off on Becky Lynch, tag teaming her in the beginning, and then Charlotte turned on Bayley, and it was every woman for themselves. And again, I mean, these NXT women's wrestlers down here outshine, outperform, and plain outclass 80% of the main roster's diva division. Charlotte Flair's core strength, her move sets, and her pure athletic ability are just mind-blowing. Becky Lynch focused on Bayley's bad leg that she had injured previously. Lynch, after being double-teamed, literally was out of it for the remainder of the match, as Charlotte Flair took Little Miss Hugger to school, focusing her attention on her wounded leg via figure 4, which was broken up by her eventually getting to the ropes, but then Charlotte drug her back to the middle of the ring and then locked in the figure 4, hit it with the bridge, making that into her figure 8. She calls it that because she says it's twice as good as Daddy's. And I'm telling you, it's an awesome move that I'm surprised no one else has ever came up with before in doing a figure 4 in this bridge. Bayley was literally at the point of tapping, and Lynch managed to crawl over and laid her barely conscious body over Bayley for the pinfall. And Becky Lynch, in complete and utter surprise to herself and everyone else in the ring, is the new number one contender to the NXT Women's title and the champion Sasha Banks. Hopefully this leads to Charlotte's departure up to that main roster, which has been rumored to be going on for some time, and I see total dominance of the Divas division by one Charlotte Flair. And now it is official. This is CJ Parker's bye-bye moment, his last match here in NXT. He'll be traveling down to CZW here in the New Jersey area. Nothing I'm looking forward to, that and I really wouldn't want to have to pay money to go see him get obliterated by the guys down there in CZW, but it may be worth it. But I digress. He was going up against HIDEO ITAMI. Now, there is no reason in any form or fashion that CJ Parker should be able to stand his ground against HIDEO ITAMI for anything. HIDEO ITAMI is too great of a world-class wrestler, too much of an international superstar with a reputation that even the announcers were putting him over, referring to Daniel Bryan, talking about how great his strikes were, how powerful his kicks were, stronger kicks than his own. Yet CJ Parker managed to actually give HIDEO ITAMI a bit of a struggle in this match. But it would not last long. ITAMI began unleashing a flurry of killer kicks and strikes and pinned him via a shotgun kick. Again, it was a nice hit off by Corey Graves, mentioning the former Kenta's work in Japan, and how a lot of guys on the main roster, especially the Intercontinental Champions, admiration for his work that he knows through not just from word of mouth, but from actually having battles with him in the ring. I will say that Corey Graves is improving each and every week as an announcer. The gentleman he was with tonight, I did not catch his name. He was okay. NXT right now really needs to get a nice, stronger announcing team going. Brian Saxton unfortunately got pulled, and due to the problems with Raw, and hopefully he can get himself back into gear, because he had a nice fit along with everyone else. Of course, we lost Matt Bloom, former Tensai and all that, as he is now the new trainer, so he's no longer announcing. Renee has not been down here for some time. Rumor being that the possibility that one Taz may be returning to the WWE, and they may be placing him down in NXT to be that color commentator for the future is now generation of wrestlers. How that'll work out, I'm not sure. Taz is up and down, in my opinion, with his abilities, but again, with that, that's a story for something that we'll hit down the road. We then had RHYNO up next, coming out against an unnamed opponent, a local wrestler slash jobber slash enhancement talent, who got gored into a quick pinfall victory for RHYNO. 1, 2, 3, no muss, no fuss, just destroyed. And then our main event, Alex Riley going up against the NXT champion, Kevin Owens. A lot of smack talk in the beginning of this, some shoving, some slapping, some fisticuffs, some spitting. A-Rye hit the champ with a drop kick, and Owens began playing the classic retreating heel, leaving the ring and avoiding A-Rye as much as possible, talking a lot outside the ring, eventually luring him to the floor. Owens then slammed Riley onto the metal rampway, striking the back of his head. He threw him back in the ring. The match was not a great one. Yet again, I'll give this to Riley. Has a lot of ring rust per se. He's not been on television wrestling for a while. He's a big guy. He's still in great shape, but he's nowhere in the class of Kevin Owens. Riley would occasionally break through with some limited offense, but the champ never lost control. Pretty much just wanted this match and this whole feud between these two to be over. And Owens apparently heard me, and he hit Riley with a pop-up power bomb for the pinfall victory. The match was over. He went to leave, but then decided things just weren't good enough with that yet, and he went back after Riley and attempted to give him the ring apron power bomb to put him back as a commentator and end his wrestling career. And then finally the night opened up and exploded with pure excitement. The best part of the whole night, as Sami Zayn came out of nowhere, saving Riley, and was all over the champ. The entire locker room with security flooded the ringside area in an attempt to stop the war between Zayn and the champ, and they were unable to keep these two guys apart. Zayn got back up in the ring. He shot up and over the corner turnbuckle, crash and burn, took out the whole group of wrestlers, security, and the champ. Kevin Owens fled, getting a hold of his title, holding it tightly to his chest, backing his way up to the ramp, to the back, looking very concerned at the viciousness of his former best friend, literally having a look on his face of, what have I unleashed? That this is something, even though they have fought in the past, this seemed to be a new fire that I have not seen between the former El Generico and Kevin Steen before, and I'm hoping this really can turn into one of the greatest feuds of the year. These two guys definitely can pull that off as they have in the past. Again, he seemed very concerned at his former best friend, former tag partner, and of course foes. And NXT was, just not where it's normally been. It seemed to be on autopilot, and it really needs to kick it back in gear. Other than this, the women's match, which was on fire, and this ending with Zayn and Owens, the night was very slow and not up there in the levels that NXT has been. Hopefully the upcoming road jaunts and the new blood that's coming through will give that needed spark in reigniting the brand out of this slump. And the new blood that I'm speaking of basically comes down to this, is we had been talking about the Briscoe brothers from Ring of Honor were supposedly signing with NXT, but as of the last 2 weeks, it seems that has went the way of the dodo. Jay and Mark were re-signed by Ring of Honor. They matched the money, actually gave them a little more than what NXT was offering, and they are now remaining with Ring of Honor. As a huge fan of them boys, the Briscoes, I really had a hard time picturing them being sanitized and PG watered over by WWE. So I'm a bit happy that it's Ring of Honor that they've decided to stay with, and possibly maybe a run in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Former Shimmer star Mia Yim, who NXT was head over heels for, totally gaga. Everyone was big and looked like she was getting signed. Instead, along with Marty Bell, signed to Impact Wrestling's Knockout division. She will be going under a new name of Jade. So she will not be joining the NXT women's division, which is again a great addition for TNA, a sad one for fans of NXT. And then we had additional signings for NXT. They have 11 recruits. They got a Casey McIntosh from Australia, trained by Lance Storm, Jessica McKay from Australia, and briefly in Ring of Honor. I'm going to say this name wrong. It's a Canadian, Nupa Al-Aribi, Axel Tischler from Germany, Oscar Vasquez, a lucha libre style. He's got dual citizenship with Mexico and the United States, so that's a definite plus with that. Then we got a Radmir Pekovic from Serbia, a Peter Howard from England, and a Kenneth Crawford / aka Thomas Kingston from the United States, and a Levi Valenzuela Jr., and one that I'm really looking forward to, and a guy that can be a major superstar in NXT and the WWE if they do it right. I followed him. I've seen him many times on the indie circuit. I am talking about the former U-Haul Nation, Sesu Yuha. That's UHAA. This guy is a complete and utter beast. He is jacked and he is fantastic in the ring for a man of his size. It's quite a diverse and a global class for this next NXT group, here to help fulfill and continue growing as the guys and gals here at NXT make their moves to the main roster. I want to offer wishes of success to each and every one of them, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of them in the ring, just like I'm looking forward to seeing each and every one of you guys next week, and we can get our normal flow back and be here hitting you every week right after NXT goes off the air, and I can keep from being hit with this major one of the worst flus I've ever had in my life. But with that, I want to give a quick shout out to the One Wrestling family, Big Ray, a Big Ray Show, and Andre Corbeil. You could follow them on Twitter at Andre_Corbeil and Big Ray's Show. They do the Can-Am Wrestling Show, and you can follow that on Twitter as well as One Wrestling. And our Raw reviewer, that's right, my man, the Prince of the Podcast from the PW Hustle. We're talking Billy Ray Valentine. You could follow him on Twitter at Billy Ray Hustle. As always, to the boss, Bill Apter at Apter One Wrestling. Follow him on the Apter Chat on YouTube for the best interviews with the stars of the past, the present, and those coming down the line in the future. And as always, you can catch me on Twitter at You Got The Show. I'll hit you back anytime you got something. Go ahead, feel free to hit me up on a message. Tweet me. Respond here. Subscribe. Give me a like. You got something you want to hear about NXT. You want things, possibly maybe some changes, something you don't like in the presentation, what you do like, because I'm here to try to make this the best show that I can do for you guys each and every week. And with that, I will see you guys